Yes.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody attending tonight, Monday, June 23rd, 2025, Edinburgh Town Council meeting. Roll call. Mr. Bryant?
Here.
Ms. Sweet?
Here.
Ms. Buck?
Here.
Ms. Brooks?
Here.
All right, also with us is Dustin Huddleston, Town Attorney, John Myers, Town Manager, and Rona Barrett, Clerk Treasurer. The minutes of council meeting June 9th, 2025, and executive meeting June 18th, 2025.
There are no questions. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 9th and June 18th, 2025.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, claims, Ms. Barrett, please.
In your packets, you received a claim docket for the end of month, April 2025, in the amount of $204,156.31. And then a docket for tonight in the amount of $1,645,039.42. Claims have been reviewed and signed.
Any questions for Ms. Barrett?
No, I have
No.
not. Motion to approve claims as presented if there's no questions or discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ordinance 2025-7, approving plan commission resolution 2025-3, rezoning certain property from general business to roadside business. Second reading, Mr. Huddleston.
Thank you, Council President. If you recall, we had a public hearing and a presentation by the legal representative of the petitioner at the last meeting. This is property on Eisenhower Drive and proposing the rezoning of general business to roadside business. Recall there is some commitments there that limit what they can do. They're committing to not developing a certain uses that are allowed in the ordinance. So that's part of the ordinance. So this is ready for your consideration.
Anybody have any questions?
I didn't have it.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-07, approving the Plan Commission Resolution 2025-3, rezoning the certain property from general business to roadside business.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance 2025-8, establishing lawn irrigation access services. Mr. Huddleston, this is the first reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you recall, Mr. Jones requested I draft an ordinance that establishes certain dates where the town will go and turn on the access for irrigation systems for the town residents who have those and turn them off. This would establish a time frame when those are on or off, and also a procedure that if they request to be returned off for the date in the fall, if they want them turned back on, there'll be a fee added to that.
So Bill, are you out there? This ordinance that we're looking at here, you guys pick the date when you turn on and you turn off. The customer doesn't do that.
The irrigation companies call us and have them turn them on. Most of the time, April the 1st or May the 1st. And then we get residents to call in and say, well, I'm not using my irrigation and I don't want to pay for that bill. So I'm not using it. So I asked for this, so we can go out and say, okay, May 1st, we're going to start getting billed for this. Because other than that, we're making multiple trips out there. 800 people that's got irrigation. I don't know what that number is, but everybody's off. So then in October 1st, we go shut everybody off, and the irrigation companies request us to shut them off. So I'm just trying to make it so we don't have to keep going back and forth, and then people call in and complain that we're paying for a bill they're not able to use.
Assuming that we don't take any liability for turning that water on why I would, subject to our opinion, or your, as subjective as to when the town turns them on and off, it can be said that in an instance or any circumstance that it was turned on too soon or too late, or whatever the case is, and are we susceptible to?
We get people, if we shut them off, we know October 1st is when we shut a lot of stuff off. Sometimes things freeze and bust before October 1st. Not too much. And then sometimes I've had people call and say, hey, it's still 90 degrees out. I'm back to term irrigation now. So we do, but it's just very few ones that are not. And just like the Park and Rec, we shut the irrigation, turn the water on May 1st for the camping, and turn the water off October 1st. Sometimes we're asked to wait a little bit longer, 2 times to throw that problem. I'm just trying to make it where we're not running back and forth to the house 2 or 3 times. And the residents call in.
Council, do you have any further questions for Bill? This is just the first reading only. So, no decision to be made.
No, Pete already asked us about that.
Okay. All right. The ordinance 2025-9 establishing water restrictions. Again, Mr. Huddleston, first reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance draft was created out of the first ordinance you just read, where I noticed we did not have any kind of emergency measures if we had any low water or water restriction needs in case of a drought. So I sent this to Mr. Jones, and he approved and said that's something he would need. So this just establishes a procedure that in case the council would deem that we're on a drought where water restrictions are needed, you could put this in effect. So it's the first reading for your consideration.
Any questions, council, for that first reading?
Nothing.
Okay. The Downtown Plaza Project donation, Ms. Barrett.
Yes, we received a check from the Conover Foundation in the amount of $14,000 to be used for the demolition of the building located at 201 Westman Cross where the plaza is going in. So need approval to accept that donation. And then once we're ready for the demolition, then prior to that, we'll do some additional appropriations to clean it out.
Is that going to be enough to cover it? Sean or Sarah?
Sarah?
So I did reach out to the folks that gave us quotes, and those are also good quotes. So that was one that was one of the cheapest that we had. They were all within about $1,500 of each other.
Anybody have any, and I'm sorry, one of that was the Conover Foundation.
Conover Foundation.
It's going to go back into that fund that we
It'll go
approved.
into that new fund that we just set up
We need to make a motion to receive that, or is
to
that?
receive that donation, yes.
Motion to approve to receive the Conover Foundation donation in the amount of $14,000 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The town annual PNC insurance renewal, Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was discussed last month. We have Andy and Charlie here from Gregory and Pell. There's a little more information that was given out to you guys in your packets about the cost difference and what each company covers or do not cover. They don't cover exactly the same. There's about $22,000 difference in the pricing. And we need to make the council needs to make a decision tonight on which company they'd like to go with.
In your gentleman's professional opinion, is Chubb going to be inadequate? Obviously, there's the biggest, looks like the wind, hail, tornado coverage is obviously the biggest deductible difference that you can see. But for the $22,000 difference, is it worth the change to? And you had alluded to that Chubb was a good bidder. It was could be a good fit for the town.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, selective, and all we're talking really about is your property coverages, right? Liability's been served by Selective. Selective's done a good job. They've stepped up and So this is kind of like what we're dealing with in today's world. Either the property marketplace is very difficult with, as we talked in the last meeting, with the wind and the hail storms that keep happening with frequency and severity. So Chubb's one of the largest property insurers in the world. Because of that, they are being impacted greatly by the wind, hail peril. Earthquake and flood are always more viewed as more catastrophic perils, but the wind, hail peril, especially in the Midwest, has dictated that insurance buyers, not just from a premium standpoint, but from a deductible standpoint, share more in the risk. So there are some advantages to Chubb. They offer a broader flood coverage, which I think the town has experienced a flood event in recent history. There's a little known coverage in there that is called ordinance or law coverage. And frankly, when you have a property claim, you're not supposed to benefit from a loss. But if you've been grandfathered in, if a building that's experienced an insured loss has been grandfathered in from code changes, HVAC, electrical, or one of the big things for a public entity is ADA. So the building has to be rebuilt back with ADA standards, current ADA standards. Chubb is much broader in that aspect. The issue that we have there is we do have a wind hail deductible that would apply per building, which is something of more of the standard. Selective's offering does not have that, but they're not as broad from a flood perspective. But in Charlie and my efforts doing our job, we wanted to bring you as many options as we could. So unfortunately, probably made your decision a little harder, but Chubb is your incumbent carrier, and as such, probably is deserving of some consideration. It's just that the town can stomach a little bit higher per building wind hail deductible.
Council, do you have any questions for John?
I got your sheet that you guys come up with. That was very informative.
Yeah, Mary worked with them on that, to
Yeah.
get that laid out.
I talked to Mary, yeah.
And especially if claims are open or whatever, I normally don't talk about them, but I did arm the council through Mary on some of the things that are driving this insurance premium. And some of that was some of the carriers chose not to respond. And that's not necessarily the town of Edinburgh. That's kind of the way it is in the public entity space right now. It's got a lot of insurance companies that sooner not have the exposure than the premium.
We have to decide too.
Yeah,
Right,
because this
right.
expires, what, the 25th?
Correct.
That's our deadline.
Somebody, I can't.
Okay, so you know what you're thinking here, guys? Anybody have any thoughts?
I was just thinking of Chubb. Those guys. One's costing one is yours.
Yeah, it's a higher premium. Is this per year?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I have 200,000, so you're only looking at 20,000.
Chubb is better on that.
I'd rather go with.
Sorry, ma'am?
Chubb is.
Well, that's on the deductible, the 200,000, the premium's at the top.
Yeah.
You just have the
Well, you're more prone to wind and
Chubb,
hail
the flood
damage than
coverage
we are
is better
flooding.
with Chubb,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a roll of the dice either way.
It is.
Because not one stands out higher than the other. It's just you kind of look at your bottom line and then you're rolling your dice on either a flood or a wind or hail event.
Whichever one comes.
And neither one of them's guaranteed or not to happen or to happen, which is
Yeah.
insurance.
So Selective provides flood coverage, but not to the extent of Chubb. And so even some of the buildings with Selective which adds to the cost of Selective's offering, we had to go to what's called the National Flood Insurance Program, a flood program reinsured by the federal government, crop insurance, terrorism insurance. And so they were able to place NFIP coverage, flood coverage on some of your properties, but in others, they couldn't even do that. A lot of it had to do with the golf course. Yes. Yes.
So we don't have any other choices on that one. You don't make a motion, James.
I'll make a motion to approve Chubb for the property insurance, $210,436.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone who might have to.
Make a motion to approve IPEP for the workers' comp of $114,958.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Selective on the liability and the cyber and AD&D, does this cover everything? I mean, since there wasn't a competing program for the liability.
We don't have those numbers in front of us, quite honestly. All we have is for the PNC insurance renewal, which is the only thing we have presented to us tonight is workers' comp and the PNC insurance renewal.
Because is this 210, is that for property only, or does that also include liability?
The selective portion is your liability carrier, your public official is your law enforcement, your general liability, your auto liability is all selective.
That was very misleading.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
so
not,
this is a total for everything then, right? She's got on here.
The 210,436.
Well, then I would like to make a motion to rescind that last vote.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't think we have enough information to make a good decision here tonight. I'm sorry, not based off of that.
It runs out.
It may very well, but we cannot make a vote on that.
It was in the last month's packet.
It was presented the last council meeting, and then my understanding tabled because of the property discussion.
so this is all she wrote back up.
So you're saying that you have workers' comp, property, and liability, you have those three
It's
policies.
cyber.
And that's in the selectives.
And that's all in selective?
And Chubb is just property is 210.
Chubb is just property, correct.
But the selective is liability and property?
Selective is just liability. Selective offered a property option against Chubb, but the indication was to stay with Chubb on your property. So that was just a competing program against Chubb.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
confusing.
because of the last packet, Selective's quote for general liability was 34, Chubb was 35. Yeah, it doesn't give,
Chubb does not have any liabilities, property only.
Okay, that may be fine, but what we're saying is what you don't have right in front of you is that the information we have doesn't list any of that. We just have three numbers given to us that looks like
It's total.
total, but it's not, that's not total. So that's
Correct.
why I'm saying it's a little misleading for us to figure out how we make a decision because these numbers aren't accurate.
But
Am I
were
correct,
those
Rodney?
not presented in the previous council meeting? And then the battleground was only over the
Okay, and
property?
then they very well may have been. I'm not questioning that. But what I'm saying is what we were looking at tonight doesn't show those numbers. What we're looking at is what I can see right here. Okay, so whatever those numbers were, they're not into this. We don't have that total number right here. I think there was just a little bit of miscommunication as to what the total number was. Would we all agree with that?
From last meeting, yeah, probably.
I don't remember what that number was exactly. I thought maybe in this one today. I didn't know I'd have to remember the last meeting's numbers.
because on the thing you got at the last meeting, the total premium for Selective was like, with a $10,000 deductible, was 347 and the Chudwood was 330. And that's on what? Is that everything?
That's everything. Cyber, AD&D, auto.
Why don't we see those numbers
Is
on
that
here?
including workers' comp or just the cyber property and liability?
That would be including workers' compensation as well.
Wow, that's
The 314?
So that's $17,000.
347 for one and 330 for
There's a $17,000 difference between Selective and Chubb, the,
totals.
the coverage of everything.
Correct.
But you said Chubb does not provide
Liability.
liability.
That's correct. They're property only. Property, buildings,
Chubb
contents, and inland marine movable type
They don't have
property.
that benefit of liability.
So this is, so selective, $347,000 is all for items, correct?
So I get, the premium was Selective on the auto, IPEP work comp, cyber, the AD&D coverage, all in is 330,215. That's Chubb on the property.
Come again with that? What did the 332.15 cover?
330,215 includes Chubb on the property, Selective on all your liability, IPEP on the workers' compensation, your cyber carrier, crime coverage, and AD&D, accidental death and dismemberment.
So one or the other of these companies is not one ball of wax. We've got to separate regardless, right? Is what we're,
Correct. Since
So-
we made the
I didn't
decision,
understand that the last
So
time.
is it gonna be 332.15 and then plus the 210, 436 for the Chubb?
no, that's all inclusive.
Okay.
Sir, you said IPEP is the cyber and everything else.
IPEP is your workers' compensation carrier.
Who was the carrier for cyber?
Selective.
Selective.
No, that is, we got you multiple, cyber carriers, but it's, HCC, Houston Casualty Company.
So who's the workman's comp carrier again?
IPEP.
Okay. That is right on this.
That amount is correct.
This is regardless. That's a,
Yeah, that's
Well, he
either
just
or.
said the 332.15 was all inclusive.
Yes.
That
With-
include the IPAP
With Chubb.
and the Chubb, includes everything, what you just said.
The
They're
Chubb,
not Chubb.
the
No.
Chubb property premium is 56,593 plus 15,890.
Is that in addition to the 332.15? Okay,
It's all inclusive.
all inclusive, so 332.15
Sir,
includes Chubb,
HCC is also
selected IPAP, cyber.
No, sir, that's cyber.
With everything?
Right, yeah.
Travelers is your crime carrier,
So, Rhonda, can you
or
tell us,
selective,
or,
I'm sorry, selective is your crime carrier.
let's just say, where did this 210 come from? That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Because
Was
nowhere in that was there any of these numbers even mentioned. So I'm just trying to figure out how these showed up on a form in front of us to make a decision on.
it's supposed to be like
I think this was just on property, right?
Your property's nowhere near 210. It's 58,593, 15,000.
Say the numbers
It's
are
gonna take
58.
everything.
Could that be a claim scenario that she lined out, mapped out there?
It says
Where's
premium
that?
total. So that's why we assumed, when you're looking at it, it says premium total for, and it has a number of 210, 436. So that's what
For
we thought.
Chubb, yeah, for Chubb.
And that would say that doesn't include the iPad.
But he's saying that doesn't include
Which
everything.
one?
And I know it doesn't include that.
what
So
does
doesn't
it?
add up.
Yes.
That's a
They
fictitious
made a
number.
motion
Doesn't
to
include
approve the premium of 330,215. That would include property of Chubb,
Yeah.
liability of Selective.
Am I allowed to approach with this?
Is that what I'm trying to look at? Okay, great. That would help. This is presented at the first. These all these correspond here.
Right.
Okay. And this would be your recommendation.
So this is.
It's the same as the compensation, as long as we can.
I think you have to, that's where you have to do it.
Yes.
No, because that would be 330.
That did not make it out.
This plus that.
You want me to read this into the record?
That's.
Yes.
In fact, you can have.
It'd be 325.
This, the 330, 215.
Okay, council,
Includes that.
I'll try to, I've got the document from your agent, so I'll try to clarify. So the recommendation from your insurance agent is a total premium of $330,215.38. That is comprised of the following. Workers' compensation, which is provided by IPEP. And that's a estimated premium of $114,958. Cyber liability, which is provided by Houston Casualty. That's a estimated premium of $16,497.38. Crime policy is Travelers Insurance.
Selective, I'm sorry.
Selective? Okay.
No, you're right.
Travelers.
Yes, sir.
It says Travelers.
Travelers, yes, sir.
Travelers, and that is a premium of, estimated premium $2,638. Then you have accidental and disability with police reserves. As that is Axis. Yes, Axis Insurance, and that's $2,444. That's an annual estimated premium. 24-hour accidental and medical for police, which is again Axis, AXIS. That's an annual estimated premium of $314. You have accidental and disability for volunteer fire and rescue, and that is Axis as well, sir. Yep. And that's an annual estimated premium of $4,622.
We interrupt you real quick. This, we don't have any volunteer firemen anymore. Does that change any of that? Yes. Okay.
Okay. And then 24-hour accidental and medical for volunteer and fire and rescue, and that's Axis, and that is annual premium of $555. Then finally, youth blanket accidental. This is for the Park and Rec Department.
Yes, sir.
And that is that Axis as well?
Yes.
Okay. And that's an annual premium of $675. And then the property insurance, which is Chubb, that's $56,593. And then insuring all your equipment, that's with Chubb as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's a $15,890. So you add all those together, that would,
Did you go
Oh,
over
I'm
the
sorry.
selective liability?
yes, the selective liability, that's the last one. This is selective liability, and that is $115,029 estimated annual premium. So those all add to $330,000.
That's the one this printout.
No, some of those, that's what we had the last time. Some of those numbers are a little different.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't think it changes a whole lot. It's still cheaper substantially. Well, not substantially, but quite a bit. Plus we want $5,000 deductible.
17,000.
Yeah. So we still stay with that, which is the recommendation. We stay with Chubb, and it would be at $330,217.00.
And that's separate, correct?
No, that's encompassing. It's all
That's everything.
together.
It's everything.
$330,000. We
You
can,
can't go by this, right?
we can,
The total annual premium is $330,215.48. That total all the, yeah, total all the amounts I just.
so that motion will encompass everything, and we can put this debacle a bit.
So I make a motion to approve selective.
Chubb,
Well,
Selected for
Unless you
the,
want selective.
it's right down here.
so I just read the total. Do you, is this the, what you want to?
42, 15,
Let's
48.
do the total, 30,000.
Okay. Make a motion to approve Chubb for the PNC insurance renewal for $330,215.
Okay, that's not going to be correct, because that's only
Okay.
one insurance company and one type of coverage.
Okay, so,
so Chubb, if the council's wish, approve Chubb on the property for the premiums listed, selective on the liability. Your liabilities, your general liability, auto liability, public officials, law enforcement.
so those have to be listed separately?
It-
You can do all encompassing or separate. So you prefer.
All encompassing of 330,000. Can we make a motion for the 330,215?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the motion would be approval of the quote and recommendation of Gregory and Pell Insurance Company for a total premium of $330,215.38, consisting of selective insurance for the commercial or the liability package, Travelers for the crime, Chubb for the property, IPEP for the workers' compensation, Houston Casualty for the cyber liability, Axis for the accidental and medical.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks, Ashley.
Didn't have to be. All right. Westwood Pretreatment Program Assistance Agreement Amendment Number 1, Mr. Jesse.
This is kind of an amendment to the first pre-treatment agreement that we have with Westler for professional services, assisting me in doing a better job. Since we had them on board for the last approval, we've accomplished a great amount of work in the pre-treatment program. And it was recommended by IADM at the time to make sure all of our T's are crossed, all our I's are dotted, and that we're doing things the right way. We went a number of years kind of under the radar, so to speak. And so we just want to do what's right for the environment. We want to do what's right for the town residents. So this helps me to make that possible. And this $70,000 that I'm asking for is not a lump sum of money all at one time. It's based on time and material. So this agreement could last a year or 2 or 5 years, depending on how much is needed. But as you see in the agreement, that there is just a lot of work that needs to be accomplished. One of those is some ordinance amendments that would be better worded for sewer use ordinance, so that we know that everybody's going to be following the rules, and then if they don't, then there's penalties that we can actually apply that would help us to enforce that. So with that being said, I'm asking for approval for a $70,000 agreement with Westler.
Justin has not reviewed this contract, council.
That was my next question.
We can review subject to legal counsel.
Okay. So this is your first round with asking Westler for?
No, this is the second round.
Second.
The first round was to get things headed in the right direction. This is a longer-term agreement.
long-term?
Yeah, this, I don't know how long this 70,000 will last. It depends on how much is needed. In the agreements, a lot of this work that I can do, like in the last one, some of it, I need assistance on. I don't know how to write ordinances. I can only make suggestions and then talk out issues. So it's a building that we're working on together that, that'll help us to achieve a goal of making sure that we protect Edinburgh, from its existing industrial users and future industrial users. So that we have a standard that everybody will follow.
So do you think once you use these services, you'll need it ongoing, or is this just something to get you over the hump, to get you where you need to be?
It shouldn't be ongoing. At some point, everything should be standardized where it'll be much easier to follow. So however long I last, or however long the next person behind me lasts, this will be a standard that can move forward from here on. I don't think that it'll be a needed service in the future. You can agree, or I can muddle through with the best I can, and, we'll do our best.
It's not an ongoing thing. It helps with the most.
Is it something, Dustin, that you can look at first and then we decide based off
Yeah,
your
sure.
decision?
I have it right here. Okay.
Make a motion to allow our council attorney, Mr. Huddleston, to review the Westler Pretreatment Program Assistance Agreement, Amendment Number 1 for the wastewater department.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, Chief Little, the per physical funding.
So, as you guys are aware, we had to send everybody that wanted to be part of the 77 for physical, psychological exam, physical agility. That's already been done. We got the bill, which is already was part of your package tonight, I believe. I'm just asking for permission to use the public safety fund asset funding source. We've made $20,000 was agreed upon when we got the 77, which we greatly appreciate. It just wasn't in our budget. Our actual police department budget to pay that funding. The 77 for the police and fire, police safety, fire safety, whatever it's called, fund is really geared right towards this. To have that bill come out of that fund versus trying to get it in my budget. If we put it in my budget, we're just going to do the budget. Going forward, we sat down and kind of talked about the 2026 budget and building in. It won't be $20,000 because obviously we're going to lose 20 people, but we will have funding set in our budget so we don't have to take anything out of that fund again. It's going to be part of my budget based on these physicals are about $2,300 a piece. So what we're going to do is put in for the 2026 budget for a capability of 2, hoping not to lose anybody, but just in case we do, that will be in my budget. We don't have to take it out. So all I'm asking is to be able to use the public safety fund to have that bill come out of that. That's this first part.
Anybody have any questions?
How much was the bill? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
It was in our.
$20,745.88.
You need to, and I'm sorry, Chief, you need to take that from,
Public safety fund.
Public safety.
I'm saying that right.
Yes, you are. Yeah, there are budgeted. It's,
available. And
yes, it's available in that budget. There's appropriations there.
okay, motion to approve Chief Lowell's request for the funding for the physicals in the amount of $20,745.88 from the public safety fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, Chief, the JAG grant application.
So the next two line items are going to combine into one. As you're aware, we got the JAG grant this year, which a couple weeks I get to apply to get that check back. It's basically, it's a grant, it was for $20,000 for radios that we had to replace because they're end of life. That grant, basically, we pay for it, and then they send us the check back, so I'm submitting for that check to be cut in July, so we get that money back. Being that we're gonna have a shortfall next year, obviously, with the SB1 bill and things of that sort, start thinking about, okay, I want to not get vehicles, because we're already trying to fight that battle and get back to where we were. We're doing a whole lot better. So I was going to apply for the JAG grant, because I found out there's actually a substantial amount of money you can get out of that grant, as long as it's still available, obviously. So I thought about putting in for the police vehicles and the lights on one package for that grant. First, I need the grant council approval to do that. And second, kind of a two-parter, the buy-in that if we do get that grant, that money's going to be either afforded in my budget or we talk about additional appropriation. Right? But I don't want to commit to try to put in for that grant if we don't think we're going to have the funding for it to get reimbursed. If that makes sense. Ultimately, if they give us the money, then we pay for it. We get the items, the cars, the lights, and then that next quarter, then we would submit the cancel check, which I do July 1st, the invoices, and we do reimbursement. So we get our money back if we win it, obviously, but I don't want to put in for it if we don't have the funds.
The funds you initially paid for, correct?
So we pay for it up front
We do.
and then reimburse us.
Right, so the example that I gave for the radios right now, we got radios, we got $22,000 for the radios. We've already paid for that out of my NRO fund. So in July 1st is that next quarter, so I'm already got the checks, already got the documentation ready to go. Just have to wait till that next quarter. I'll submit those, and then the money comes through the feds to the state, and then it's a check is granted back to us and sent direct deposit. We've done this at least 2 times since I've been the chief, and I think they did it once or twice, and it's worked well. It's just you gotta have the money up front to make sure. And this way, we can save $150,000.
So we're pretty positive we'll get the grant.
I won't say positive. I have not one lost yet, but I've never done back to back. I can tell you that from looking at the grant awards, if you whatever want to look up, Indiana Criminal Justice JAG grant, the statistics are there. They put several $1 million out for departments. One department last year or this year got $745,000.
Oh, wow.
So that little $22,000 that we applied for, I thought was really good. I should have went way bigger. But there's no guarantee with them. I mean, we don't know what SB1 is going to do on the federal side. So this is federal money that is granted to the state to give out to agencies for some of them for specific needs, overdose awareness and things like that. But there is a large chunk of it. The only one that I know of, other than like the Johnson County Community Foundation grant, that you use for equipment. So we're expecting the cars to be around 52,000 this year.
And we know we're gonna need to.
2, and then obviously 2 sets of lines. Or we're gonna apply for the, approved for the $150,000. And then if we get it, great. If we don't, then we're gonna have to come back to the drawing board and figure out where we're my budget. So this is kind of more of a 2-parter explanation. I was trying to get those tied together. The JAG grant is a good thing for us. We've been successful at least 4 times.
Remind me again, when is it that you apply for the grant? Will you apply for it this year for next year?
So I tried to narrow them down. They won't tell you the time frame if they want to keep it open. Basically, between July and October, it's usually around the August, September area that opens up. They're about 45 days until they get inundated with a lot of things. Generally, it's closed by October. At least it was this past year, and it won't be any grant money for 2026. So if it was awarded, we would know towards the end of this year. Feds usually hold on to the money and push it out after the first quarter. So what I try to do is if we're granted it, I'll try to wait as long as we can, so I know the state's got the money in the bank, so we're not waiting for a check. It's a juggling act.
Whether we can do that.
Yeah, if we have, we can have appropriations in this budget, maybe for, what do we talk about? Put it in there for one, and then if we get approved, then we ask for additional appropriations for the second.
Well, we kind of discussed, John and I talked a little bit about it, kind of, he's more up to date on this than I am on it. I've never done additional appropriations. Generally, what I do is I go ahead and put it in my budget, and the council approves that, and then if we get that grant, then that's normal and normal proceedings, why I still come out here to get approvals just like I normally do. The other part of that is, you don't have to put it in my budget, if we do additional appropriations, I understand.
Right. We're just looking at the SB1, you know, is the town gonna be able to afford to purchase 2 more vehicles next year? He can apply for the grant. If he gets it, he can come in and ask for special appropriation for the money, or he can go ahead and put it in his budget, and he doesn't get the grant. I guess he can come in and ask if he can still purchase the vehicles.
It's your decision. It's taking it either way, I just want to make sure that I'm more able to buy in that, hey, if I get this grant, we're going to be able to, I know we can, especially with the money's going to go back into.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
Why is they $150,000 to get the equipment if it's awarded? You just never know. There's not too many grants out there. I know, like Justin and I talked before about getting equipment is kind of rough.
Mhm.
When you find one, you just have to go for it. And it's just an explanation, basically, of the grant process. It's 15 pages of answering the same questions that the exact pages long.
So you're asking for tonight is you to go after that application?
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, that grant.
Yes, Criminal Justice Institute, Jack Green.
I think there's 2 parts. One is to, we will apply for the grant and use any funds received for the police vehicles.
Yes.
Well, you don't necessarily.
But I don't necessarily have to have that right now. I just need to apply for it and see if we get it. We can do the additional appropriations for when we do budget talks in July, August. Kind of further discuss what we want to put into it, but if we want to do additional appropriations. So I think, to Ryan's point, yes, right now I just need that permission to do the JAG grant and see what happens, and then we'll just do the budget as we normally do and talk about it. Maybe we'll have an answer.
So that's gonna be in the amount of that $150,000. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve for Chief Little to apply for the JAG grant, the JAG grant, application in the amount of $150,000 as he presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that kind of covered that one. So Julie, the Jacoby Toombs and Lands Professional Services Agreement.
Thank you. This is actually a renewal of an existing agreement, and Mr. Huddleston has reviewed this agreement. And I think he's sent out all of his remarks on that. So asking for approval of this agreement.
Anybody have any questions? Make a motion to approve the Jacoby Toombs and Lands Professional Services Agreement as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Julie, and the annual CF Warner review for Coppell's Record Service, please.
Yes, so this is year 10 on their real property abatement. And they actually missed the May 15th deadline. Dustin, do we need a motion to waive that deadline in addition to a motion for an approval of that abatement?
So the first is a motion for waiver of non-compliance, and after that, you can consider the
This is in reference to adding employees, Julie.
So this was for the building.
Okay, Bill.
Yeah, so this was for the structures.
Structure. Okay.
And this is their last year of abatement per the resolution that Mr. Huddleston drafted.
Any questions? Make a motion to make a motion for waiver of noncompliance for the Coppell's Record Service tax abatement for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then
Any other questions about the actual CF1 form? Make a motion to approve the annual CF1 form for Coppell's Record Service for 2025, 2026, payable 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that the one I need to sign on?
And we also need a signature.
Motion for Council President Petersfield to sign off on the Coppell's Record Service CF1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Distributed generation rate category revisions, Mr. Clark.
Current rate ordinance has a paraffin for distributed generation up to 10 megawatts. So basically, the only thing in our ordinance right now is just for a simple house solar system. Offshore, wind, or whatever generation is. As things have evolved over the years, we've got factories and other customers that are wanting to put in larger and larger solar facilities, and we don't have a structure in place to handle this. The reason we need to have a structure is because when you start getting these large solar arrays, it can cause issues with our grid, that's what voltage is and stuff, but you start to deal with large amounts of electricity, potentially they can push back on it. So the smaller residential ones aren't really a concern, but there's a lot of engineering and review and that kind of stuff, structure that needs to be followed. We don't have anything in place in our ordinance to handle. So, what I'm asking for tonight is to allow Mr. Huddleston to review a series of documents that help us prepare it for us. It's got the technical, it's got the applications, it's a suite of 4 different documents. Once that's finalized, we're going to approve them, dive into the ordinance, and then put into place an ordinance for these solar projects or distributed generation. So we'll put it on wind or something about it. To have one of these impact studies done is ballpark 6 to 8 grand. That the customer is wanting for the city to pay for. We don't have a mechanism to charge that right now. So it's a very well laid out plan and guideline to follow. So that's what I'm asking for. Permission by Dustin.
I don't have a problem with
I don't
that.
have a problem.
I didn't want to because the technical documents give you some things, it's great pictures, it's great to sleep by.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you will decide.
Motion to approve Mr. Clark's request for Council Attorney Huddleston to review the distributed generation rate category revisions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, other business. Mr. Bryan, do you have anything?
No.
Ms. Sweet? Ms. Buck?
No.
Ms. Rose?
I only have one thing, Justin, did you get the information today about your AEDs are supposed to be coming
Yes, tomorrow.
tomorrow? Okay, got it. That's all I have.
A couple things were brought to attention. We can look at this, maybe figure out it still needs it. There's a stop sign at Ward Street in South Kyle, which has been there since Lear was in business, but I can't see a good reason why it's still there. So I didn't know if council entertained looking at potentially getting rid of that stop sign, because I can't truly tell you why there's a value to it at this point. I know. So I don't know what that entitles as far as the legal ramifications of that. If you would,
Yeah, I'd have to traffic.
I mean, I know why it was originally there, it just doesn't stand water.
What cross section, intersection?
It is Cottage Street, Ward Street.
Crosswalk.
It's a crosswalk, but there's no operational business, hasn't been a business there.
And there won't be.
There won't be, unfortunately.
Well, we'd like to see something, but.
Yeah, I would love to see something.
And they have to build a new building.
Yeah, you're right. The other thing, received an alert from INPA about our grid. What is, are we're fine in this area, right? Is there anything? Yeah, it first received an email, then received a text message. So, that between 5 and, what I said, it was 11 tonight, that we would be running on, maybe using, NISO would be, my NISO would be using different revenues, resources, and that partners could be asked to curtail. So I don't know who signed me up for that, but I'm glad they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's news to me. I'm guessing it's got to do with all the interaction that we've had. It's early in the year to have this large notice, so I'm guessing it's got something to do with them ramping up generation throughout the country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just kind of curious about that. Thank you. Ron, anything? John?
I do.
Train.
I'll make it quick. I just want to recognize Wayne and the golf course. There was a company that ranked 368 golf courses in Indiana, and Timbergate came in at 19. That's real impressive. There you go, Wayne. You blowing your horn?
Yeah.
Good job, Wayne.
Yeah. Yes, good job.
Sit. I don't know.
Good for business. Chief Little, anything?
I do have, we have 3 donations for the golf outing. I just need approval for us to accept them. One was from George Food Company for $150. One from the people of Columbus, Inc. for $430. And then one from Upston for $500. This we went with the golf outing. It was 9 in a row. And I just need approval to accept them.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just hope that it gets cooler, because temperatures are starting to go up out here, and I want to talk about the temperature rather than talk about people. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you for all your support.
Julie, anything else? Wayne? Stephen? Bob, anything else?
Just, I will be a signature.
Okay. Bill?
I had, I got the new truck with the Dodge truck, we're trying to get this thing, get the job yet, do I need to have a resolution to make it access, need an access so we can fit it on the item set? Do I need permission for that, to do that, so I can get that Dodge truck on?
Okay, what do you need from us? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Send me the specs, Bill.
You hold the truck.
Yes.
Mr. Barnett?
Give an update for this. We have one week.
Stan? Justin?
One thing I will mention, since Mayor brought it up, I applied for a grant for health person units, and that kind of fell through. We were asking for a cardiac monitor, new ED, for $44,000. Health department created some units that bought it for it, so it's supposed to be here tomorrow. So, yeah, on our back up, we'll have it ready to go. We'll stop now, so, yeah, it's hard to accept that. So, that's good. A great asset to us.
Sarah Beth, you back there?
Thank you for approving the donation from the Conover Fund tonight for the plaza. We've had the students from, grad students from IU Rural over here last week to take a look at the property, and by the end of this month, we'll have 2 designs to choose from, and we're actually be taking those to the Firecracker Festival to let the public have some input and comments on those as well, which is really nice, and part of that grant process as well, and help with our capital campaign. And IU is actually going to help with locating and getting quotes for all the different amenities that we're looking for that as well. And one of the things that we'll need to discuss and either do it at a future council meeting or kind of put a thing together is the best time to demo that building. So right now, it seems like it's either, do we want it before Fall Festival or after Fall Festival? And maybe the design aspect will help with that. Because underneath is just kind of a hole, and that is a lot of pea gravel, so we just want to do whatever is the most safe for the public, depending on how we can that space for the rest of the year until we raise the funds needed to build that out. So it's something to think about. If anyone has any questions or comments about that, feel free to ask.
And how long do you think it'll take them to take it down?
Well, we've been told no more than a week.
Oh, wow.
Open it up for public comment. Please state your name and your address for the record if there are any.
Motion to adjourn is next. Oh, sorry, retract. Go ahead.
Won't be very long. My name is Robert Dangle. I live at 204 St. Andrews Avenue. And I just wanted to commend Chief Little and the wonderful job they've been doing in patrolling the street while the work is being done on 252. Really, really appreciate it a lot. One thought was that I've noticed on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, that there tends to be a whole lot more traffic during the day. I don't know if it's the golf course or just people are out and about. So you wouldn't mind looking into that. I appreciate it. And again, I'd like to thank all of the officers that have been patrolling it. They've done a very good job. So thank you very much. And then finally, for the second year in a row, I don't know if it's the streets department that does it, but somebody goes through and sprays a herbicide on the cracks in the street curves. Well, there's a lot of overspray, and it just doesn't kill weeds, it also kills grass. I've got photos of what's happened. And last year what happened was the grass died and weeds came back to replace the grass very quickly, to the point where I actually spent quite a bit of time killing the weeds, removing the weeds, and then replanting, and then watering. And so I don't really want to have to do that directly here. I've got photos I can show you, or give to you. So I appreciate it. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for attending.